You want to say?
I use differentiation in my instruction in each of my classes to try and engage as many kids as I can, as much as I can. And one thing that I do is I have a lot of visual elements to my curriculum because so many of our kids are visual learners. And it helps to, I think, increase their interest in something that they might not be totally into. One example that I do is I do character maps for any text of a length that we're going to read, where we're going to be tracking characters and plot and action. And my kids really respond well to it. They really like it. And so I continue to use them. And they're interactive, and so they change as we're reading through the stories. So as we encounter new characters, we'll put new characters up there, name them, we mark relationships between them, and sort of track how everything progresses in the story. And it is really nice because you can see kids thinking actively using that character map. And that's really cool. I really like to watch them just sort of stare at it and piece the puzzle together and think. Because they make a lot of connections between characters and between the story that otherwise I think they would not. They wouldn't be able to link some of the more complex relationships that we see, or cause and effect relationships over the course of the text. And I also do visualization with vocabulary instruction, and I've got a big old PowerPoint full of vocabulary words that we cover, where I've gone and I've used Google image search, and I've typed in the vocabulary word, and I scroll through the images and I pick out ones that I think represent that word well. And so then they're presented with the word and with about 3 to 5 different images. And we talk about what the word means, and we talk about why that image is a good representation of that word, and what we see in the image that's also in the definition. And also with vocabulary instruction, I use Frayer boxes, which incorporate working with the vocabulary words in multiple ways. So they have to write down a definition, and I give them the definition so that they have the correct definition for the context that we're going to be using that word in. And then they have to come up with synonyms and examples and non-examples for the words. And so they get to interact with that word in as many ways as possible. And they really benefit from that. Mm-hmm. And it engages them well.
So the last thing is, one of the things we've been talking about is like using data to help differentiate. What do you think is like one of the key points that you use when you examine the data on the students that helps you to differentiate?
I track my students, actually. I've got, like I do, spreadsheets. And for each individual student, I track their grammatical errors or spelling errors that I feel like they should know how to spell that word. It's common enough that they should know how to spell that. And I track them, and every time that I come across that kind of mistake in their writing, I mark it and I go and I enter it into my spreadsheets. And I use that to do individual interventions with them. And I offer them extra credit for doing corrections, practicing using that word or that skill correctly, and individualize it for that. And I see a lot of benefits to that because a lot of times they don't really recognize that they are lacking that. And it brings it to their attention. It allows for us to address that initial problem and fix that. So.
Anything else you would like to share with your colleagues?
Our kids learn in all kinds of ways. And I think it's important to hit them with information in as many ways as possible and as many times as possible. Because just going one time in one way is not going to stick.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your philosophy of using data for differentiation.